Plaintiff, Penelope Solinsky, needed a place to stay, so she moved into the defendant's home after they met at work. However, Penelope claims she soon realized the defendant was a severe alcoholic and drug addict, and she's suing him today for utilities and property that was damaged when his home flooded. Defendant Scott Petracek says he allowed Penelope to move in because she needed to get out of an abusive relationship. Scott insists Penelope was responsible for paying the utilities, not him. And it's not his fault his house flooded. So he doesn't owe her a dime.
All right, start with you.
Well, I met Scott in last November at a bar that I picked shifts up at. He was a coworker. He told me that he had a basement apartment with a bathroom with a shower, and so I moved in.
What was the agreement?
The agreement was that I would move in. I'm disabled, so I'm on limited
No, there's an
income.
agreement on the amount.
It was
On responsibilities.
it was verbal. It would be what it was during the winter, so it was slow.
What was the agreement, ma'am?
Whatever I
Okay,
could.
let me hear from you, sir. What's the agreement that you all had? This is where you start, because that's what she
The
wanted
agreement
to start.
was, I know she was disabled and she needed help and stuff, and I go, just give me whatever you can. and
Okay, good enough. Give me whatever you can was the
Yes.
agreement, and that's it. Go ahead, finish.
I came to soon realize that he was a severe alcoholic and drug addict. I had to go pick him up at 3 o'clock in the morning from the police station because he got a DUI outside of his house sleeping with an open bottle of alcohol. And I had nowhere to go. I didn't have room for storage, so I stayed there as long as I could until I was finally to make it out. During that period, it flooded. One of the rooms was very long. I have a very large book collection. I have a lot of collectibles from traveling abroad, Venetian masks, scrolls from Japan, China, things that are irreplaceable.
What did he do to cause it?
Flooding.
How did he flood again? Tell me again.
It just flooded. And I said, Scott.
No, we got to find out whose responsibility. You're ascribing the fault to him, and I haven't heard it.
Well, he
so I
told
have
me.
to be able to ascribe the fault
Understand.
because I'm making the decision today.
Okay, well.
So let's try that. Who was at fault with causing the flooding?
Well, at that point, I was under the assumption he owned the house. And
You can own something and still not be at fault of damaging it. Who was at fault in damaging the house, causing the flood, allowing it to occur, being negligent so much so that it occurred?
there was no cracks in the wall. It rained.
Okay, move on. What else you want me to know?
I also stated, or I asked him, because in the town of Cicero, you need to have a city sticker or you get ticketed or towed. So I asked him, can I put the utility bills in my name for proof of residency? He said, no problem. As soon as I put them in my name, never paid
What was
them,
the agreement on putting them in your name?
that he would pay them.
All of it?
Yes.
Okay.
And I
So you
have
had a hun-
text
well,
messages.
we don't know how much in rent, whatever you can in rent, but 100% in the utilities.
Yes.
All right.
Defendant Scott Petracek is being sued by his former roommate, who claims Scott is a severe alcoholic and a drug addict.
Let me get some background from you, sir, and then confirm or deny the agreement.
Good morning. Well, what happened was I have a friend. He came to me. He says that he's dating this girl, and she's from an abusive relationship. She had to move out from whatever town she lived in. And I'm like, all right, but I don't want this to turn out to where she's going to move in with me and yada, 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 and then find out you break up with her, she breaks up with you. 2 weeks after she moves in, she breaks up with the guy. So I'm like, all right, we gotta do something here. You got to give me money. You're working at a bar. And then every time she gets money, she always had an excuse. She had to pay for cable bill that she had because she only listens to stations in Saudi Arabia. So she had to get a dish for doing that. What else did she have? She had her car that she had to get fixed. It was always an excuse why she couldn't pay. So I'm like, all right, whatever you can. Then she asked me to put the utilities in her name. I'm like, all right, she gets a discount. She's disabled. I'm like, all right, well, she can't pay me rent. She can pay the utility bills.
So you didn't agree to pay all the
I
utility
didn't pay,
bills?
no. I said she only did it for residency. And I
What
go,
was the
"You can't-"
agreement regarding utilities?
There was no. She just put everything in her
There
name.
was
'cause
no
she-
agreement to pay?
There was no agreement for me to pay anything.
But who was going to pay it then?
Well, that's why she put it in her name, and she.
That doesn't mean that. Putting something in somebody's name doesn't mean they're going to pay it. That happens all the time. People put cards in people's name, co-sign. They don't have credit, all of that. Like you didn't have credit, obviously, for your own utilities. So that's why I'm asking who was responsible and committed to paying the utilities. Well, she says you committed 100%. And that's what I'm asking you. You committed to what?
0%.
There you go. How did you expect it to be paid?
From her.
Even though she wasn't paying rent?
Right, because she said, at least I can do is pay this. I can do something
She said that?
Yes.
She said, least I can do is pay utilities.
Right.
All right. Anybody have any evidence of any communications regarding any of this? Because these are two very different stories, and this is going to be an easy case if I can see any evidence.
Yes, I do. As far as I did give him money that I could every month, and the agreement was never verbally said that I will pay all of the utilities. If you look at
You did pay
No,
utilities at something
the
every
verbal-
month?
I did give him money every month, and I also borrowed.
For utilities?
No, for rent.
Okay. Yeah, we acknowledge that. We're talking
Yes.
utilities now.
No.
We're past that. I know that. No rent is involved. You give them what you can, so there's no agreement there. You gave them what you can, and that's it.
Okay.
We're talking utilities. We're talking about that agreement. Did you ever pay anything on utilities?
No.
All right.
If you look at page 3, Your Honor, I told him to pay the utility bills.
I know what you told him. Did he agree?
No.
Okay. Anything where he agreed?
Nope.
Anybody got anything in communications where anybody agreed to anything?
No.
So I just take some folks' word who have were unclear on the case at the very least at the beginning. Couldn't tell me whether there was an agreement for rent. Now there's a dispute as to who was going to pay the utilities. So let's get into that. I need evidence as to who was going to pay utilities, because we know rent is not a factor. It's utilities, $892. And no one has evidence as to who agreed to pay them. You put it in your name. So there's a presumption that you're going to pay it. Legal presumption. He says that was the agreement that you would pay it. So there's a legal presumption that you're required to when you put it in your name. And he says you agreed to pay it all. So far, his testimony sounds more reliable than yours. So you're going to have to prove that he agreed to pay the utility bills.
Well, if you look at page 10, Your Honor, that's the past due amount for the ComEd bill. You can see when I put them in my name, they immediately went unpaid. And if you look at page 12, that's the gas bill that went unpaid.
So why didn't you pay your bills?
I was not supposed to, because I gave
He
him,
says you were.
well, it's here.
That's my point. You all can't
hearsay.
prove anything. You got to prove.
Well, that's
And what I have is a presumption that you were required to pay it, and he says you agreed to pay it. That's all I have to work with today.
Defendant Scott Petracek is being sued by his former roommate, who claims Scott is a severe alcoholic and a drug addict.
You put it in your name, meaning there's a presumption that you owe. He says that was the agreement because he was telling you, give me what you can on rent. That sounds fair.
It is fair, but I put it strictly so I could get a city sticker.
What I said was fair, ma'am, and you're now agreeing, is that you would pay the utilities and give him rent when you could. That's what I'm referring to as fair. Is that what you're referring to as fair?
What is fair and what is not, I don't think is...
Okay, what's your damaged property? What are you suing him for that?
Okay, my damaged property is located on page 5.
What did he do?
There was a flooding. In the second bedroom, I had a lot of boxes, and it flooded terribly, ruined all the boxes.
What caused it?
A flood from rain.
You don't know what, I know that. When you say it flooded, I knew that it was caused by a flood. I asked you what caused the flood. Your response to me was a flood.
A rain.
So now you're going to talk disrespectful to me.
No.
No, you said flood. It was already established. You said the house flooded. I said, what caused it to flood? You say, a flood. That's what you just said to me.
No.
But let's go ahead and see how things keep working out for you.
It was caused by the rain.
Okay.
Or he also said that the sewage companies sometimes shut off the sewage pipes and all the houses flood basements.
What it is we live right by the Chicago
So
water.
it didn't caused by the flood. It wasn't caused by the rain. It was caused by the sewage system, which you referred to. Go ahead.
So what happens is if there's anything over 3 inches of rain, the water recognition plant closes the deep tunnel. And what happened is they did it for a period of time so everybody else went flood. And there's 4 blocks in the town of Cicero that may or may not flood.
Any of your property damaged?
No, the only thing that was damaged were a couple of boxes, and when she moved, we took the old boxes, put everything in new boxes with the person that she moved out of to begin with to move back in with him.
And you saying the responsibility for this flood came from the city?
I don't know.
Because she said something about a sewer or?
Yeah, when they close up, and then if you have rainwater going down your around your downspouts, it goes up.
But it
underneath
begins with the city
Yes.
closing it
Yes.
off.
Yes.
That's my point.
Yes.
That
Yes,
is
Your Honor.
what starts it. And so it's not you, it's the city.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, that's what I'm trying to establish, what you did wrong. Because you only pay when you do something wrong. That's the only time he would pay. So that's why I'm asking you, what did he do wrong? And all you wanted to do is talk slick to me. And doesn't work though. It's a bad idea. Talk slick to me. You haven't been able to prove anything on the utility bills that there was an agreement. In fact, you put it in your name, there's a presumption that you intended to pay it. He says you did. So I have to go with that presumption and that testimony. With regard to the damaged property, he did nothing wrong to cause the flooding, so he wasn't negligent in any way. So today I'm going to dismiss your claim. Have a good day.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mom is a That's all I can say. It's gonna bite you in the better than you think.
God bless you.